Shalom Israel, or can I say peace Israel, giving all praises due to the Most High God and His Son, Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Today's quick lesson I'll be going over will be entitled Understanding Deuteronomy 19, verse 19, and Deuteronomy 22, verse 11. Because from my understanding, this topic might be a gray area for certain brothers out there. That's why I'm doing this video, so just for the certain brothers could get to understand him. And also to cut you so-called Christians. Because throughout the years when I've been on the streets teaching on the highways and byways, you have so-called Christians that will come up to the camp, they'll walk past, and then if they hear us say that, we are to keep the laws, in their mentality that we're not, the law is done away with. So then they'll be like, you keep all the laws? And then they might throw things at you. And don't you know there's a dietary law? We'll tell them we keep the dietary law. Well, don't you know there's a law for this? Do you do that? Do you do this law? Do you do that law? And then one of the things, they'll look at us and how we're dressed. And they'll be like, well, see, you're breaking the law right now. Because I bet you didn't even know that the Bible says that you can't wear different fabric. So you're sinning right now according to your doctrine. And they would say stupid, foolish, ignorant things like that because they are not knowing the scriptures. Okay, and I've also heard other Israelites, mainly Old Testament Israelites and other ignorant men who don't understand the scriptures that might refer to this as speaking about all type of fabric as well. You know what I'm saying? So I guess in some men's eyes, when it says diverse sorts in Deuteronomy 22, diverse sorts mean you can't wear pants that's 20% nylon, 30% cotton, and 50% polyester. I guess that's a sin. Really? Is that what the Bible is saying? Because it's funny, with these two verses, you hear so many different interpretations. I even heard a so-called fake Jewish rabbi, he broke it down and said that, well, see, you have to understand, in these two verses, they have linen and wool mentioned at the same time, too. So I heard a so-called Jewish rabbi, a fake Jew, he said that that's God's way of saying that He doesn't want animal fabric mixed up with plant fabric, which I kind of thought about it. It kind of made sense because you got to understand, at the time, it kind of made sense. Let me say at the time, because you got to understand, where does linen come from? It comes from a plant called flax, F-L-A-X. And you got to understand where wool comes from. It comes from an animal, predominantly the sheep. It's a fabric that, so I was like, okay, that's what it's talking about. But then you have to understand that there's other plant fabrics out there. What about cotton? Don't we wear cotton? Right? It's like they got the commercials, cotton, Hanes and all that. Ain't that what about cotton? That comes from a plant. So we can't wear cotton either? And if that's the case, man, you can't wear nothing. Okay? Just being over righteous, like what the scriptures say, if you be over righteous, you'll destroy yourself, man. You'll be a miserable person because you won't be able to do anything. All right? But let's get back to the topic at hand. What are these verses speaking about? Okay, because I heard it's saying that, it could be, there's a difference between the animal fabric and plant fabric. Then I heard that you can't wear wool and linen. I've heard that too, which doesn't make any sense to me, which makes no sense at all, because a man of God by the name of Gideon in the book of Judges, the 6th chapter, he has a fleece that's made out of wool. Where did the Most High ever condemn Gideon for that? Okay? How come in the book of Ezekiel, the 34th chapter, the Most High is explaining how our ancestors, our forefathers in the land of Israel, clothed themselves with wool, meaning that they made garments out of wool? So we could wear wool. And how come in the book of Proverbs, I believe it's 31, that virtuous woman, okay, which is a woman of God, not a sinful woman, how come it says that woman of God, it says that when she makes garments, she selleth the linen, and she gathers what? Flax and wool. Flax is the plant that you're going to need to make linen. Okay, so we use these materials. So it's not talking about the animal and the plant mixing, and it ain't talking about any sorts, and it ain't talking about you cannot wear wool and linen garments. So what are these verses speaking about? What exactly? Okay, so we're going to go into the Hebrew. Yes, we're going to deal with the Hebrew real quick, because you have to understand Leviticus and Deuteronomy are on what side of the book? The Old Testament. Okay, when our forefathers when they wrote this down, they wrote in Hebrew. So they didn't have the King James translation then. King James didn't come on scene to translate into English yet. Okay, so we have to read certain words, and the parts that off throw us, we might have to read that part in Hebrew and get the definition. So I'm going to start off with this right here. I'm going to start off with, matter of fact, let me start off with Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11. It says, "Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together," right? Then you go to Leviticus 19 and 19. "And the Lord says, Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind." So that goes a cut to you, America. Your stem cells and genetically modifying and mixed breeding dogs and whatnot. That's against the scriptures of God. It says, "Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed," genetically modified food. All right. "Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and wool come upon thee." So one says diverse sorts and one says mingled, and then they're both stating linen and wool. So what are these verses talking about? Because it could off throw somebody. I can see how a brother could be thrown off, because I myself was thrown off even when I first came in this truth. So what are these verses talking about? Let's go to let's stick with here. Leviticus chapter 19 and 19. When it says, "Neither shall a garment mingle of linen and wool come upon thee." Now I took the time to look up the word mingled in the Hebrew. All right, and it goes back to the Strong's H3610. And it simply means two kinds. If you don't believe me, look it up. That's what that thing means. It means two kinds. So that's a cut for anybody that thinks that diverse sorts in Deuteronomy 22 and 11 means all fabric. It's just talking about two kinds of fabric. Now we're winding down to where we can see that it's just talking about linen and wool. But what's up with the linen and wool? How does it have to be sewn? All right. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter let me get Leviticus. Wait. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11. It says, "Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse kinds." Now, when you look at diverse kinds, even in my Bible, it says different material. And that's what used to off throw me, because I thought that meant, all material. Diverse kinds, but then it says, "as of woolen and linen." So when I took the time, and you guys should take the time as well, when you look up diverse sorts in the Hebrew, it states this: diverse sorts, Strong's H8162, and it says mixed stuff, fabric of mixed weave. In case you don't know what weave means, it means to sew. Like when you go to the beauty salon and the black woman says she wants a track to sew in her hair, or the weave, that's what weave means, to sew. Fabric of mixed weave, what? Linsey woolsey. So it's talking about linen and wool. The flax fabric and the wool. And it goes on to continue to say, "A kind of cloth forbidden for garments, a cloth made by weaving linen and wool together." So you get the understanding now? It's talking about linen and wool being sewn together. It's not talking about any fabric. So if, for instance, you know how us as Israelites, we like to dress up, right? I took the time to get some of my hats, all right? Some snapbacks. My Los Angeles caps. I'm a Los Angeles cat. All right, but these are different caps I have, right? So somebody that might want to try to be over righteous and be like, "Oh, well, look at the different materials. Let's see if any of this is going against the scriptures." All right, this cap right here is 100% cotton. This doesn't have wool, so it's not going off. So if a brother is wearing a cap that's 100% cotton, these verses doesn't pertain to this. So you're not going off. Okay, this cap right here is 100% polyester. It has no wool and it has no linen in it. So it's not going off. This cap here, on the other hand, is 100% wool. It's not mixed with linen. Now, if this cap here was mixed with linen, then we could probably say something. But it's 100% wool, and that's it. This cap right here is 100% polyester. Okay? It's not going off. And I have another cap here that's 100% polyester. So if you're wearing a snapback that is 100% wool, that's not a sin. If you're wearing a t-shirt that is 50% cotton and 50% polyester, that has nothing to do with thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts or linsey woolsey as of linen and wool together. That doesn't pertain to that. So that brother will not be going off. Now, you might have to say, okay, I see where you're coming from. But why is this even here? That's a good question. Now, you have to realize there's certain ranks in the kingdom. Just like how it is in the United States of America. I'm going to throw this at you. If you impersonate and be a police officer, and you wear a police officer's uniform and a badge, don't you know you could get locked up and thrown in jail for a very long time for impersonating a cop? What made you think that the Most High's kingdom was any different? Because there was a group of guys that were allowed to wear twin linen. And it was the Levites, the sons of Aaron. When you read, it was Exodus chapter 28, okay? And when you read Exodus 39, it goes into that, how the Levites wore twin linen. So you might say, well, that's kind of like a contradiction then. Because how come the Levites could have wear it, but other people? Because the Levites had a certain position to govern the house of God. Matter of fact, let's get one of the verses. Let's get Exodus chapter 39. Because now I see it on the side over here. Exodus chapter 39. Let's just get it. Exodus chapter 39, verse 27 to 29. It says, and they made coats. Now, in case, let's understand who's he talking to here. All right. This is Exodus chapter 39, verse 1. And of blue and purple and scarlet, they made clothes of service to do the service in the holy place, and made the holy garments of Aaron as the Lord commanded Moses. When it says the garments of Aaron, meaning it's talking about the Levites. So this is a law pertaining to the Levites, the priests. All right. Verse 27. And they made coats of fine linen of weaving work for Aaron and for his sons. You see that? Hold on just a second. Because I just got a text. But I'll put that aside. But it says, I'm going to read that again. And they made coats of fine linen and woven work for Aaron and for his sons. And a mitre of fine linen and goodly bonnets of fine linen and linen breeches, which would be pants. The difference, showing you there's a difference. So you can wear a wool cap and have 100% cotton shirt on, and you're still not going off. For you over, that's how come the scriptures say, be not over righteous, man. Why? Least thou destroy thyself, man. Because with that, man, you'll be mad every time you put on clothes, man. Because you would think you're breaking the commandments every time because you don't have the understanding. But I'm just going to keep on, I'm going to read down to verse 29. Verse 29, and a girdle of fine twinned linen. Now, if you don't understand what twinned linen means, it means two things mixed in the linen together that you're going to sew. How come the Levites could wear that, but other than in Leviticus? Because that is their position. Their position is to govern and to be in the house of God. So their dress code will be different from everybody else's. For instance, if you're not a police officer, why are you walking around with a police badge? Now, if the so-called white man catches you, you'll get locked up and thrown in jail. Okay? There's certain things that Levites couldn't do that the regular people that couldn't do. I bet a lot of y'all don't even know in the book of Exodus, the 30th chapter, it speaks about certain spices that the Levites had to touch and to deal with. And if people touched those spices, they would have got kicked and thrown out of the they would have basically been killed, man. So there's certain things that a Levite could do that other people couldn't do. There were certain things that a Levite had to wear that other people couldn't wear. There were certain services and certain places that a Levite could have go that other people couldn't go. Okay, Levites could have watched the Ark of the Covenant and they could have walked in and out. Other people couldn't do that. All right, you couldn't just been, if you wasn't governing or watching over the house of the Lord, you just couldn't walk right up in there and start touching the Ark of the Covenant. We even had kings that didn't even do that. And that's how come the scriptures say, I believe it says, honor the gods and the ruler of thy people, basically, in the law. And when you look up the word gods, it means rulers or judges. Who would have been the rulers or judges over in Israel? The officers, the servants, but predominantly who? The judges and the priests. And you couldn't say that you were them if the Most High hasn't chosen you. That's how come when you read in the book of Numbers, the Lord said, I will set up certain judges. And he said, he told Moses to set up, was it 70 men? Find 70 men. He didn't say, oh, just choose anybody. He was looking for certain men. If you wasn't of those 70 men, you didn't have the right to judge Israel at that time. So the same thing that goes here. That's what this scripture is talking about. It's talking about, once again, it's not saying that we cannot wear diverse linen. It's just simply saying that if you're going to have something, it cannot be wool and linen, which is from the flax plant. That fabric, it cannot be both. It cannot be both of those sewn together. You cannot. For instance, if I have this shirt right here, right, and let's say this didn't have pockets, and this was made out of linen. This is a linen shirt, and let's say I had some pockets that was made out of wool, and I was to sew them onto this linen shirt. That's when you could do that. But I mean, once again, like I was telling a brother I know out in California, what are the chances of you even coming across most of that? Most of these hats are 100% polyester and cotton. That doesn't even pertain to that. Most of these t-shirts, I have this t-shirt I wear right now is 100% cotton. That has nothing to do with this the scriptures. I mean, these two verses in the scriptures. All right, that's not a sin. And even if this shirt was 50% cotton, 50% nylon and nylon, okay, it's not going against the scriptures. So I hope you brothers out there, you guys got an understanding. If you guys have any other questions, I'll always be free, to answer whenever I have the time. I hope you guys got like I said, it's just going to be a quick lesson. I ain't going to try to make it too long. And with that, man, shalom, man. I hope you guys got your understanding. Shalom.